Ever since we got our first trailer for GodzillaXKong Supernova last year, there have been loads of news for this upcoming Monsterverse film, like returning characters, the promising confirmation of Space Godzilla being the main villain, and the fact that according to insider reports, this will be a more Godzilla-focused film, which if true, is definitely great news since we've had 2 movies in a row focusing on Kong. But recently, we actually have even more news that comes to us all the way from Germany. You see, there's a movie theater in Germany called Kinorama Una, and their website has what seems to be a brand new synopsis for Supernova, and it honestly sounds pretty epic. If you don't know, a synopsis is basically a summary that teases what we can expect to see happening in a movie. But anyway, here's the new synopsis for Supernova that was on their website. Following the events of GodzillaXKong: The New Empire, the world is shaken once again. A deep, rhythmic signal appears in various regions, seemingly emanating from places long considered legendary. As the first clues emerge, Godzilla and Kong find themselves in a perilous situation. Their powers pull them in different directions, but it soon becomes clear that the signal is not only awakening titans, but also disrupting a larger order. While Godzilla follows the clues in nature and Kong searches for answers in the ruins, teams of scientists and field researchers attempt to decipher the signal's origin. Now I'm pretty sure that you're wondering what the heck this could all mean for Supernova, but don't worry. We'll discuss this together and break it all down. So let's begin. Let's discuss this first part that mentions a deep rhythmic signal. A rhythmic signal is basically a set of sounds or electric impulses that behave in a distinct pattern. Some good examples of rhythmic signals are things like your heartbeat, as it constantly beats in that lub-dub pattern. Also a clock, since it constantly ticks with that tick-tock sound. But according to this synopsis for Supernova, this specific rhythmic signal is appearing in various regions. Now, for that to be possible, it would have to mean that whoever or whatever is creating this signal is extremely massive and super powerful. So could this signal potentially be coming from Space Godzilla? Or perhaps, could it be coming from those strange pyramids that we saw in the Supernova trailer? Well, whatever it is, it seems that it's causing a pretty dangerous situation for both Godzilla and Kong. And as stated in the synopsis, their powers pull them in different directions. Do you notice that the synopsis says their powers? Which made me think of a potential theory. We obviously know that Godzilla has his atomic breath, so he technically has powers. But the fact that the synopsis says their powers makes you think for a moment. Is it possible that Kong could potentially be getting his own powers of some kind? We definitely can't know for sure, but it's definitely a fun possibility to think about. Now let's discuss this next part of the synopsis, which potentially hints at something pretty insane. But it soon becomes clear that the signal is not only awakening titans, but also disrupting a larger order. Honestly, when I read that part about the signal awakening titans, I just couldn't help but think of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Specifically that part when Ghidorah used his alpha call to wake up most of the titans around the world. So does this mean that we could possibly be seeing another mass awakening in Supernova? I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Something else that's interesting in this part of the synopsis is that the signal is also disrupting a larger order. But what exactly is this larger order? Is this possibly something to do with the world governments? Or maybe something totally unknown from outer space? Let me know in the comments of what you think it could be. Now finally, it's time to discuss the final part of the synopsis, and I think it reveals way more than we think. While Godzilla follows the clues in nature and Kong searches for answers in the ruins, teams of scientists and field researchers attempt to decipher the signal's origin. That last part obviously has something to do with the workers from Monarch or another company, trying to figure out exactly where the signal's coming from. But now let's speculate on the more interesting part. Godzilla follows the clues in nature. Throughout the movies of the Monsterverse, most of Godzilla's screen time is in these popular cities. We barely see Godzilla hanging out in nature. Even though we've seen Godzilla hanging out in the oceans, we haven't really seen him actually interact with lush jungles. So could we potentially see Godzilla exploring the wilderness of Hollow Earth in Supernova? I don't really know for sure, but I really hope so. Just imagine getting 10 minutes of Godzilla exploring Hollow Earth. That'd truly be an amazing thing to see. This specific part that mentions Kong is where things get pretty exciting. According to the synopsis, the mysterious signal is causing Kong to search for answers in the ruins. Now this is where I have a pretty insane theory. What are the most iconic ruins in Hollow Earth? Well, it's none other than the ancient Great Ape Temple that we saw back in Godzilla vs. Kong. But why exactly would Kong be searching for answers here specifically? Well, now I'm about to blow your mind. You see, shortly after the release of Godzilla vs. Kong, its official art book came out. It basically showed lots of cool concept art of stuff that didn't make the final cut of the movie, some of which even included a better look at the inside of the ancient Great Ape Temple. But one specific page stood out in particular. It shows some cave paintings and, interestingly, what seems to be a Godzilla with wings. And what specific character is described as a flying Godzilla? Definitely Space Godzilla. So what if this ancient temple could actually be one of the places where the signal is coming from? Which is why Kong ends up here and discovers the ancient cave paintings and sees this painting of a flying Godzilla. This is just my personal theory, but maybe I could be onto something. What do you guys think? This brand new synopsis for Supernova sounds amazing, and it honestly makes me even more hyped for this film. So I just thought to make this video to give you the news and to share my speculations with you guys. But I'm curious on what you think. What are your theories about this new synopsis for Supernova? What are your hopes for this movie? And what other Titans are you hoping to see in it? Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you have an awesome day. Stay amazing and stay peak.